And I'm about to talk about a subject which is difficult. It is a difficult subject, and there'll be a lot of people who go, why are you talking about that? Because it's important that we talk about these things. And earlier on, I mentioned to you about the NHS. The NHS that is supposed to be there for you and me. The NHS that is supposed to be there to do no harm. All of these things. And they have been carrying out an operation on women and girls that is completely unnecessary and is just, literally just for the benefit of men. This is your NHS. These are your surgeons have been carrying out an operation on women and girls to make them appear to be virgins. Just think about that just for one moment. Why? Why? Why is the NHS doing that in this country? The NHS was told that the hymenoplasties, which is the medical name of this barbaric procedure, was now illegal. It is carried out in private clinics in this country, as is female genital mutilation, by the way, which is also illegal, in this country, in the hundreds of thousands. Now, the hymenectomy, or the hymenoplasties, they are in small numbers, but the NHS has performed this operation on a 10-year-old girl. It's also performed this operation, this unnecessary, misogynistic operation, on a 14-year-old girl. Now, the aim of this is to make them appear to be virgins on their wedding night. Why a 10-year-old is having this done and why a 14-year-old is having this done, it does not bear thinking about. And as soon as the government said this was to be illegal, there was a rush of people having this surgery done in your name on the NHS. And it is now believed that this virgin repair operation, honestly, I'm so angry about it, some of them were carried out illegally. And there's an organisation now that wants to have an inquiry into the NHS. I mean, why were they doing this in the first place? If you want to have it done privately, I mean, even that, I just think the whole thing is sick beyond sickness. It is £3,000. But the NHS are supposed to be doing hip replacements and cataract operations and brain scans. I literally don't have the word. I'm so upset about it because in this country, like I said, female genital mutilation, the mutilating of women for men's pleasure, we're pretty much the centre of Europe for that still. 137,000 women have undergone FGM in this country. 137,000 women compared to 600,000 across Europe. Great, we're good at something. We're the capital for FGM. Let's just mutilate a few more women. Anyway, joining me now is Aneeta Prem, MBE, who is founder and president of the Freedom Charity. Thank you for joining me.
Hi.
Hi. You know, there'll be some people who say, why are you doing this topic? I don't want to think about things like that. But while women are being, you know, abused legally or illegally in this country, we have to say something. And just because it's about sex, people go, oh, no, let's not talk about that. Are you surprised? I mean, I was shocked that the NHS was carrying out these operations anyway. What justification would they have?
So as a charity at Freedom, we've been campaigning for a number of years for hymenoplasty to be a criminal offence. And we came up against a lot of opposition from the government who were very uncomfortable about making this a criminal offence because what it did, it brought in tourism. People that were sending their daughters, honestly, this gets worse. People were sending their daughters to the United Kingdom, mainly from the Middle East, So they would come back home with a certificate to prove that they were a virgin. So they came back with a letter from a Harley Street doctor to say, your daughter's a virgin. So when they were trying to get their daughters married, not only did they say, this is her qualifications, this is a photo of what she looked like, but here is a certificate to prove she's a virgin. So we campaigned for virginity testing to become a criminal offence. At the same time as we were doing that, we were campaigning for hymenoplasty to become a criminal offence, because when the doctors discovered that the girl didn't have her hymen in place, didn't necessarily mean she wasn't a virgin, but when the hymen wasn't in place, these girls were offered hymenoplasty, where, I'm sorry to be graphic, but a fake piece of skin was put over the girl's vagina, so on her wedding night she would bleed. Complete nonsense, because
unbelievable.
We know not all girls are born with a hymen. So if you're using sanitary products, you might have broken your hymen. Going horse riding, I did karate for years. It's fault means it might not be intact. And what right do men have to demand that girls are virgins and women are virgins on their wedding night? So we campaigned for this to become a criminal offence. On the 1st of June, it became a criminal offence in this country, 2022. But I was shocked a few years ago when I discovered that this was being carried out on the NHS. And some girls have come to freedom and have begged us to try and find a way to raise money so they could have this surgery, this hymenoplasty surgery. Because they said if their families discovered that they weren't a virgin on their wedding night, they risked being murdered by their family and by the groom's family. There'd be a bounty put on them. Can you imagine that this is actually going on today? And we have campaigned for years for this to become a criminal offence. And when you talk about our NHS, where we all know somebody that's waiting for surgery or waiting for treatment on the NHS. How dare they use surgical time and medical doctors and nurses to perform this type of surgery over the years? And if you think about during COVID, when there were such large queues, and as there are now, why was this ever allowed to happen? And we should be protesting, and actually an inquiry needs to be in place as to why this was ever allowed to happen. And there's some people in the NHS are saying, well, actually, it weren't 19, or it might have been recorded under a different thing, and it really wasn't that number. How can an operation be recorded incorrectly? I just personally can't believe
it. It's a fairly specific operation, right? I mean, there's no mistaking that for a broken toe or a hip operation. Absolutely. I mean, this is an intimate operation, and carried out on a 10-year-old girl. Now that is a safeguarding issue right there. That raises a red flag to me. A 10-year-old girl having her hymen replaced.
It's child abuse. Let's be really clear. There's no way under the sun this should happen to any woman or girl. And if it happens in private or backstreet clinics, we can protest and argue, and people, should be held to account. But to be held in NHS hospitals that we all
pay for, right? I've been paying for these girls to be abused. That's how I feel. That's why I'm so upset about it.
And I agree with you, but I also believe, and I also wear a different hat, as the CEO of a charity called trigeminal neuralgia. It's the worst painful condition anyone can have, where your trigeminal nerve on your face is resting on a blood vessel. It's called the suicide disease. My members have been waiting, as is there so many other people, for surgery, for consultations. They're not getting in to have this done because people are having this type of surgery, unnecessary, barbaric surgery. And you're right, everyone should be upset and protesting why this was ever allowed to happen. Is this political correctness gone mad? Families, men in the family demanding that their daughters have this. Why has this ever happened? And what can we do to stop it happening in the future?
I mean, it beggars belief. I mean, the fact that the ruling won't stop the private clinics from doing that, we know that. I'm absolutely mortified, ashamed and horrified that Britain, London, is the European centre for mutilating women. the taxi drivers that pick them up from the airport and take them to the clinics, the girls who are going there to be mutilated beyond repair, beyond anything in this country, in Harley Street or wherever it is, and then being sent. I mean, I've never understood how we've not been able to put a stop to that, and we won't be able to put a stop to this.
Well, we have been able to put a stop to it, but we've been very reluctant to change the law. And it's only been a year. Can you believe that? This has only been a criminal offence.
I can't believe that. It's horrifying.
I mean, you know, as a charity, we campaigned against forced marriage, and this is linked to that. This is all interlinked. So when a girl is being shown to various men, her photograph is being shown for her to get married. These are UK citizens, I have to tell you, that are being forced into marriage. A photograph, her education, can she cook, what does she look like, and a certificate to say she's a virgin.
It's a cattle market, isn't it? It's just animals. They're just treated like animals.
Well, it's abuse, and in children it's child abuse. And
but surely that should have been a red flag. That's what I cannot understand, Aneeta, is that if a 14-year-old girl or a 10-year-old girl is presenting to an NHS GP and the parents are there saying we want her to have her hymen repaired so we can... At what point did the GP say, no, hang on, what's going on here? What are you doing with that 10-year-old? What are you doing with that 14-year-old? Why is this a situation? Why is this an issue? What are you planning? It seems that they just get referred straight to surgery.
Why hasn't social services been involved?
Absolutely.
Why isn't there a case conference where the police are involved and everyone is protecting the most vulnerable girls in our society from these barbaric crimes that have been allowed to happen? It's bad enough that they've happened. And the fact is nobody spoke about it for years and years. And we've just started to talk about it on the law change. But, you know, when we found out it was happening in the NHS, I really, really couldn't believe it. I was told it was happening in backstreet surgeries. I was told it was happening in top clinics in London. But I was really surprised a number of years ago when I discovered it was happening on the NHS. And there's no medical justification for it.
None. Unbelievable. I'm absolutely stunned, and I'm so glad we could bring a voice to this. I'm getting lots of comments from people going, oh my God, I never knew. This is absolutely disgusting. And that's what something like this needs, and female genital mutilation. We need to shine a light on this and say to people, this is abuse, this is violence towards women, and this is completely and utterly unacceptable in this country in 2023-24. We've got to put a stop to this treatment of women and girls.
Stop it. I mean, you can see I'm wearing a red badge. And this is a national symbol against FGM that Freedom came up with.
Where do I get one? I'll wear one.
Send you one. I'll send you one. We go into schools and we've seen 70,000 children, boys and girls, and we've educated them against FGM and forced marriage and virginity testing. And one of the things we do is talk to young men, because this is happening in their name.
In their name, yeah.
Stand up if you don't want this happening in your name. And we went to a school and one of the teachers said, well, we really don't do this as mixed education, do the boys separately and girls separately. I said, absolutely not. We're going to have them all together. So she said, oh, she was a bit nervous. She said, okay, boy, girl, boy, girl. And they sat there. And I told a story about a girl that had been mutilated for FGM, age appropriate, because obviously they're children. And then I said to the boys, if you don't want this to happen, stand up and say, not in my name. And every single boy in the school, so we're looking at, you know, maybe 500 boys, they didn't say it, they roared it at the top of their voice. Girls were in tears knowing that they were going to be protected by these boys. And, you know, we can change this in a generation. Why are we allowing children, girls, to be mutilated in this country? Why are we allowing it to happen in our names? We can't be politically correct about this. This is child abuse and we have to stand up. It doesn't matter who the culture is or where they have come.
I agree. And that's the issue, isn't it? It's the cultural thing. People are too scared to say it's a particular culture and everybody, you know, like, oh, this is what the Muslims prefer and this is what... And it is... We've got to stop it. We've got to stop, because this has got to stop. I'm glad to talk to you, Aneeta, and I hope I get to do it again. You're welcome on my programme anytime.